Well, hello everyone. My name's Connor Dehlin, and thanks for joining us on another episode of Millennial in the Middle. I'd say I have a friend here today, a close friend, but I think that's a lie. This guy's family. This is Michael Henry, and I have known Michael. How old was I?
You were 6 when I first met you.
6 years old. Okay, so Michael is like family to us. I call him a brother, and I mean that. And I wanted to bring him on early in this podcast because as you get to know me a little bit more, I think it helps to understand kind of my perspective, my background, and really what has shaped a lot of the way I think and feel. And one thing I talk about from the very beginning is I am very patriotic and I love American history. I love this country. And I think a big role in that, especially in these, impressionable years, is my relationship with you. Because you were the only person I really knew personally that was a veteran. You got it right there on your shirt. I love it, right?
Yeah.
But that you served in the military. Michael, you were a
United States Marine.
United States Marine, First Force Recon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was part of 1-9, and then I went to Recon, and then the Special Ops.
How long were you in the service?
88 to 93.
Okay, awesome. And, you played a role in my life of kind of being that person I always thought of whenever I hear, support the troops or remember those, you're the person that comes to my mind every time. And I think I learned a lot of how to respect our country and those that serve from my relationship with you. And in fact, I wanted to start here with a story. And I don't know if you remember this, you probably don't, but this left a big impression on me as a little kid. There was I don't know what game we were watching. It was a football game, and we were at my house, and we were playing ping pong. Your back was we had some major ping pong battles back in the day. I was 7 and we were really even. No.
Yeah, we were.
And so listen, we played a lot of ping pong, and I remember your back was to the TV, and some other people were coming over. It was loud. People are coming in. Nothing had really started yet, and the TV was just on as background noise, right? And we were midpoint, and all of a sudden, you dropped your paddle, literally dropped your paddle, turned around, and stood at attention.
Stood at attention.
You stood at attention,
Stood at attention.
because the national anthem had just started playing on that game.
Yeah.
And you stood there statuesque, right, watching it. And I remember as a little kid watching you do that and thinking it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
I get chills talking about it, right? Because it was just this moment of the reverence you showed to our nation, to the flag, was just this awesome and amazing example for me to see. And I think that shaped, I look back on that, and I think that led to a lot of different things in my life. So I want to bring you on today to talk kind of about your perspective, your background, and see, again, we're always trying to find middle ground here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Michael, first off, what does the flag mean to you?
Well, it means everything. It's such a, in the military, the reason that I stood at attention is because we are trained. We are trained to show respect for the country and the flag.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I see somebody kneel or burn a flag, it breaks my heart on TV. Or
Sure.
I can't even watch sporting events. Once I see somebody kneel, that's it for me. And, I wonder what these other people are thinking, when they do this and what their perspective is. My perspective is, once you've seen that flag cover the body of one of your friends, and you see it come back on a plane, or I've even had to escort a body of my friend home to their home state, to their family. Mm-hmm. Once you see that flag cover that, it ceases to be a piece of cloth. It has so much more meaning.
Yeah.
That you always show the utmost respect for the flag and your country.
Yeah, I love that. I think that we kind of start right into this mindset of, we've got a lot of people talking about the flag right now and the national anthem. It's a hot debate. And to me, it's about, well, the flag means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? honestly, the flag means more to you than it does to me, right? I haven't had those experiences. I can't, I don't feel it. I feel that as you say that, but I haven't experienced it myself. And so you have, certain people in our country that view the flag. I view the flag as a symbol of democracy, of freedom, of those that have laid their lives on the line, of like the American experiment and how proud I am to live in this great country. And you have other people that view the flag as a sign of what's wrong with our country, or as a way to represent inequality, racism, problems within the system institutionally. And I can't argue with that the same way I can't argue with your perspective, right?
Yeah.
That's their perspective in the same way. But I think as we try to understand these types of debates, it's important to understand those different opinions. And go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about debate and and about coming together and talking. I've heard you talk about we have to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Once I see somebody burn a flag or step on it or spit on it or take a knee, I don't even care what your position is. Don't even care what you have to say or talk about when it starts like that.
Sure.
Just like with the protests, this country was built on free speech. I'm all about the protests. Once it turns, to degrading or destroying our courthouses or hurting the innocent or just to cause violence for violence sake, then I'm done.
Sure.
So anyway, I do not believe, some people say, well, you're in the military. You fought for our right. You fought for our right so that we could, burn the flag and protest. Mm-hmm. Bull crap. That's not what I fought for.
Yeah.
There are many other ways that you can express your free speech without desecrating that great symbol of our country.
Sure. Okay, so tell me this. Let's back up. Let's talk a little about your background and upbringing. And, I think we chatted about this before, but I honestly can't name that many people I even know that currently serve in the military, right? I think especially for millennials, people my age and younger that are listening, serving in the military is different now than it was 20, 30, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
You were raised in Texas,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit. Tell me about your upbringing and your attitude about the military.
So Texas is a very patriotic state because it's the only state that fought for its independence.
Sure.
In Texas, the Texas flag is the only flag in the entire country that can fly the same height as the American flag.
And can fly alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for that reason, because they fought for its own independence. So it's a very patriotic state anyway. My grandfather was in World War II. My father was in Korea. All of my dad's brothers were in the military. We are encouraged to serve our country, to give back to a country that has given you everything and so much.
Yeah.
And so we're encouraged to serve. So I'm the third generation, of serving our country. So it was no question about what I was going to do.
Okay. So you decided to go into the Marines.
Yes.
Like right at 18, right out of high school?
Yes.
Okay, you go to MCRD at San Diego. I know that place well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to MCRD, you become a Marine. Tell us a little bit about your, experience in the military. What was that like?
Okay, so it is when you go to boot camp, it's 3 months of hell, basically.
Yeah.
And then you go to Marine combat training. Then I was going to infantry. I wanted to be infantry, so I went to School of Infantry. Then I took the test for recon, and then my career, then things just started happening. You go to scuba school, you go to jump school, you go, but the military in itself is not as divided as the movies or make it seem.
Sure.
There is no, in my time, I did not see racism in the military.
Okay.
Because the military's point of view, everybody's green. There are no colors. We are all green.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means?
Yeah.
All green? Okay. And then
Maybe explain it to them that don't, though.
you know, you're always in camouflage. You're always painted up. You always have your green fatigues on. You know, so everybody's one color, and it's all for America. And you know, you're fighting in green.
Sure.
And so, and also, there's no. You don't choose political sides in the military. You are taught, you know, when you have to take an oath. I, Mike Henry, do solemnly swear that I will defend and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will follow the orders of the President and the President of the United States and the orders appointed over him. It doesn't say Republican President, Democratic President. The President is your commander-in-chief. He is your boss, and you will follow his orders. Whether it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or who has the office, the commander-in-chief is your boss, and you will follow his orders.
I think that's pretty cool, and a good point to make, right? Like, so you said your years of service were 88 to 93, so you served under George H.W. Bush, 41, and Bill Clinton.
Yes.
And so, you know, I think that's interesting because, again, we talk about these polarized extremes. I think a lot of people would look at, like, Barack Obama and Donald Trump as polar opposites, right? Like, you either love Barack Obama and hate Donald Trump, or hate Barack Obama and love Donald Trump, and there's no in between. But I think it's cool. You think if you're in the military, if you were there from 2006 to 2010, Barack Obama was President Obama and President Trump. And in fact, you said something earlier to me today.
Oh, yeah. You don't...
Like, you said the phrase.
People, it seems like this time in our country, people want to see the presidency fail. We have to respect the office of the president, whether it doesn't matter what party is in there. When Barack Obama, even though I'm a Republican, when Barack Obama was elected, I was proud to live in a country that elected its first African-American president. I thought, man, we have come so far since Rosa Parks, you know, and I was inspired. And then I listened to his speech, and I was moved to tears.
Sure.
I was so inspired by his speech. Now, in my opinion, he didn't turn out to be a very good president, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Whether I liked him or not, he was still President Obama.
Yeah.
Because you in the military, you respect the office of the president, and he is the one who's going to send you to war or not. We want the president to succeed for all of us, for the entire country.
Sure.
We want him to succeed, because if we want a president to fail and don't help him, you know, then he might make a bad decision that's going to affect all of us in a bad way.
Yeah.
Forget about what you see on the news in Portland and Seattle and, you know, the riots and all of that. Forget about all that. There's a much bigger picture on the other side of the pond, you know, if we go to war, that has a far greater significance than what's going on right now. And,
No, I love that mentality of why in the world, as an American, would we want to see our president fail?
I know.
You know,
I get it.
And I was the same way. In fact, I went to the inauguration of Barack Obama in 2008. I was 16 years old. And I remember the same thing, listening to that speech. Now, I was really cold, so I couldn't feel anything. It was so cold. Yeah. But I remember when he said, I am sitting in a city being elected or inaugurated as president when my father wasn't able to eat at certain restaurants in the same spot. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's so cool. Yeah. And that's what America's all about, right? Like, each generation takes those steps forward. But there's one thing that is always constant, and it's the military. It's fighting and defending for your freedoms, no matter what that means. That looks different in the middle of a war period than it does in a peaceful period. Yeah. But I think having that perspective is so important.
Well, and here's the thing about patriotism. I know you're a big history buff. Ronald Reagan. Yeah. Ronald Reagan was my parents' guy. Okay? Yeah. As a boy, he's the first. I remember a little bit of Ford. But Ronald Reagan was the first president that I remember. Yeah. And my parents would go get me when he was giving his announcement out of my room and make me sit in the living room and watch, you know, which never happens today. Sure. And he gave a speech about, let's see, what was it? His quote, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We did not pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It was fought for and it was given. It was passed on to them. Freedom. You have to keep passing that on to the next generation. Same with patriotism. There's a lot of people who don't care about flying their flag, or it doesn't mean much to them. All the people who burn the flags and who are unhappy, unless they have a voice to make change, if they just want to cause chaos, or if they're unhappy,
sure.
Well, there's the door. Get the F out, if you're not happy.
Good job, Michael. I told him to avoid saying the F word, and you just did, yeah, so thank you.
I knew you wanted to try and keep it clean, which is not my normal word. But anyway, if I were president, I would make everybody, they would have to serve in the military for 2 years after they graduate from high school. So they could learn, not just discipline, but loyalty and what it means to be an American, and the men and women who fought and died to give them everything that they have. I would wish that they would go overseas and have to, spend time in a third world country. I don't believe that you can really, truly appreciate America until you've been outside it and see the other half live. I have been in enough third world countries where I have had to shit in a bush and wipe my butt with my hand or a leaf, to appreciate, oh my gosh, I have running water. I have a sewage system. I have a grocery store that has a cold section with lights. How about schools with no floors, with no light, that have to teach their kids by candlelight? People do not realize everything that they have because they were born in America. And I wish they could go experience that, and they would see how great this country is.
Yeah. That actually makes a really good segue into what I want to talk about next. You make that point, you would have everyone go get that experience for a couple years before they started into their adult life.
Yeah.
You did. So now tell me about, you served in the military, and now you make this transition into civilian life. How has those years of active duty affected the rest of your life?
Well, my commanding officer never wanted me to get out, and I would have stayed in. I would have stayed in my whole life. I wanted to be a lifer. I wanted to be a Marine ever since I was in 8th grade. My mom died of cancer when I was in the Marine Corps, and I was in a combat situation, so I couldn't come home. And my dad was so heartbroken over losing my mom that he tried to kill himself. And so I came home after Somalia, and my dad wasn't doing good, and I had just re-upped, for another 4, and I had to get out to take care of my dad. And my commanding officer didn't want me to go. He said, "You'll never make it as a civilian," because I was a diehard soldier. But anyway, I got out to take care of my dad, and my dad ended up dying 7 years later of cancer. Anyway, but I will tell you, if I didn't get out, I would have never met Lisa and had 4 awesome kids, and I've been married for 23 years to an awesome woman, and but it's a hard adjustment, especially especially the first 5 years or so, 7. It was a hard adjustment to fit into the civilian world.
Yeah.
And now that I'm 50 years old, and now you see what's happening in the country, I can't even watch the news. I because I just get so angry.
Yeah.
And I have to remember that what you see on the news is not real, and it's not everywhere. Because every day I leave my house, I put a smile on my face, and I have a good attitude, and I remember the oath that I took, and I go out and I try and put positivity in the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's buying the police officers at the 7-Eleven their coffee on the way to work, paying for the guy behind me in the drive-through line, the customers that I go see, I try and spread that positivity and goodwill, and remember that I took an oath to defend the Constitution. And it's not an oath. Here's what people don't understand about people in the military. When you take that oath, it's for life. It is till your death. It's not while you wear the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You are always bound to that code. I will always stand in a living room, no matter if I'm watching a game and the national anthem comes on, I will always stand at attention, and I will make others do so as well.
Yeah.
I will tell them, get up off your rear end.
I see. You could say ass. I told you ass was okay.
I'd say get up off your ass.
Man, I love that. I mean, one, people that know Michael Henry know that like a Michael Henry hug involves a lot of love, right? Like you just feel that, and I think that perspective is so cool of understanding where you came from, how that shaped who you are now. In fact, I think we got time for a quick little story. I mean, civilian life, right? One of my favorite Michael Henry stories, which there are a lot, is right after you came home and you wanted to go camping. I'm not a camper, but I definitely don't think I'd be a fan of how you camped. I mean, tell your mindset just in this like camping story.
Yeah, okay. So, fresh out of the Marine Corps, you don't need tents. You just sleep on the ground in a sleeping bag. You don't need you don't need a lot of food. You don't need a lot of chairs. You don't take a tent. You go out in the woods and whoever you're with and you camp.
Yeah, and how that goes. You told your girlfriend.
My girlfriend at the time did not like that, and she didn't like camping anyway, and she didn't like the fact that we didn't have a tent or food, or that we were going to go to the lake for water, and her family didn't like that either.
Oh, it's just a mindset thing. I always love that story. I mean, I am the other end of camping, but seeing that, trying to explain to your girlfriend, what do we need a tent for? What do we need food for? It's all right out there. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I know I've got a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are my age or younger, and can't necessarily relate with the older generation as well. I think we're all in the boat listening to you say you don't watch the news because it makes you mad, right? Yeah. Like that is such something that I think is so universal on both sides. We're all in the middle of that. But to a millennial in the middle of this crazy time, like what advice would you give from your experience and your perspective?
Don't worry about parties. Do not worry about what party you're a part of. You judge a person on their character. Yeah. That is still, even to this day, even in 2020, how we were taught when we were kids. You judge a man or woman based on their actions. That will determine their character. That will tell you if they're good or bad, or if they are in line with your view.
Yeah.
But you go out and put positivity into the world, because as a millennial, you are just like the stupid song says, you are the future. Yeah. We are going to depend on you to take this, to move this forward. And you've got to get off social media, and you've got to, shake a hand and look somebody in the eye and, have a conversation.
Yeah, I love that advice. I got a little surprise for you, Michael. I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I want to tell this story at the end. I have been given some cool presents and some cool gifts in my life, but there's one that is pretty dang unique, and probably it was my show and tell, I think, every year for like 10 years as a little kid. You gave me, I don't know how old I was when you gave me this.
Oh my god.
But this plaque, you probably haven't seen this in years, right?
I haven't.
And I hope you can see this. If you're listening on the podcast, Michael, explain what this plaque is.
Okay, so Connor, I just loved Connor. And because I was on the road and I was so close with his parents, I spent so much time living at his house. His mom and dad gave me a place to live when I was on the road selling. And I had just really become close with Connor. We had really bonded, and he had a show and tell, and I wanted him to have something cool and unique. So I built him this shadow box, and so in this shadow box, there's a pin on the left, which is my rank, which was sergeant. On the right is the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, which is the symbol of the United States Marine Corps, and then two very special, what recon guys wear, the combat scuba bubble and jump wings are in this shadow box also, and those are very hard to earn. And then at the bottom is this little plaque that says "Return home with honor." And so I wanted Connor to have this for his show and tell, and it was really special giving it to him. And man, the fact that he's kept it all this years, I mean, that was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think probably closer to 20.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we did this for show and tell, and now what am I doing now? Like, here's my show and tell at 28 years old, right? It's still my item. But this meant so much to me, and to be honest, I don't even, like, it's such an honor that you gave it to me. I still don't fully know why you did that, but I'm glad you did. And tell me, though, like, I remember when you gave me this, you said that you were going to put lots of sayings on here. You had thoughts for what you were going to do with the shadow box, and you were going to put different, like, sayings or military things or this or that, and then you ended up deciding just to put Return Home with Honor. Why? Why does that mean so much?
So it is what my mom sent me to boot camp with this little red stitch out with gold letters, because red and gold, or scarlet and gold, are the colors of the Marine Corps, and it said Return Home with Honor, meaning, I represent my family, I represent my country, it meant a lot of things. And that in my house, it is on the back door, so my kids see it, before they leave. It's a symbol that just means remember who you are, remember what you stand for, remember what you represent, And I wanted you to have that too, so it would keep you grounded.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I love that advice, and I think that's something all of us can benefit a lot from, of that reminder of, I loved when you said earlier, judge people by their actions.
Yeah.
And while we should judge others by their actions, we also need to remember that's how we're being judged as well,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So what are you going out there and doing? And, that's spreading positivity. When I asked you to be on this podcast, you said, Connor, I'm happy to spread love, hope, and patriotism. I'm like, Michael, you're a poet right there. I love those 3 words. Hope, love, patriotism. That's what, honestly, this podcast is all about. And I'm excited. Thanks, man, for being on. It really means a lot. I love you, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I hope you gained something from this conversation. We've got a lot of awesome guests. Just like Michael coming up, I've got a guest coming up in a little bit that is a feminist. We're going to talk about feminism, so maybe a little different than you, right? I went to military today, talking feminism next, but that's what it's all about. We got to find this middle ground. So thanks for joining, and until next time, you know what I'm going to do, right?
I do.
Clowns to the left me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. See you next time. Good job, buddy. That was fun.
That was awesome.
All right.